Yeah, welcome back everybody to the Implausible Podcast Business Spotlight. Today we have Isaac. Isaac, say your last name, because
Agyepong,
there
Agyepong,
you go.
Isaac Agyepong. Pleasure to meet you.
All right. He is the co-creator of Zone, a playing card that is on the verge of coming out. Correct.
Indeed.
All right. Um, I'm here with my co-host Zevi,
Facts. AKA Malik.
aka Malik. All right. Just to start out though, how's everybody's day? You good?
Pretty good, pretty good.
I'm
Pretty
doing all
good.
Took,
right.
took my
All right.
vitamins earlier.
So Isaac, tell us a little about yourself.
Oh, okay. So I myself, I'm a young male. So say, 24, recently college graduate, majoring in energy engineering, and wanted to take a dabble in making a card game a while back, about 2 years ago. As of now, how I progressed in it is, we'll get into that a little bit later, but as of now, my current lifestyle, trying to navigate through COVID, finding a job, and just enjoying life.
I feel you. I feel you. So, so what exactly is zone? Like, if you
Okay.
had to describe it in your own words, how would you go about that?
I think I would describe it as a very unique card game, because it relies on a lot of the mechanics of like household card games such as Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic the Gathering, and implement some new things such as new card games such as Digimon, TCG, or Gate Ruler. Implement a lot of mechanics from those games into one to give a unique flavor to the player. Uh, for our card game, we kind of took um, the Magic approach, where we will introduce a lot of the lore and world of Zone through the card game. So since such things may accompany such as a comic book may accompany the card game, a lot of the lore will be discussed in the card, and as the way the players play will kind of determine what goes on.
Alright. So those call game a few those call games. I'm sorry. Those call games that you mentioned earlier, such as Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic, were those pretty much your inspiration to making it, or did something else inspire you?
What? So we're kind of going to an origin story. So basically, what kind of inspired us is that from going from middle school to high school, a lot of my friends started getting back to Yu-Gi-Oh, so I decided to dabble in it again. We started to take it competitively, so we started to go to regionals and so on and so forth. And we said, you know what? When we were young, we were like, if they can make a card game, so can we. I mean, at the time, we weren't taking it seriously to make a product, but we just decided to try it anyway. So
Yeah.
my brother Antonio decided to really make it the schematics of zones. That's when I guess the idea kind of gave life. He was, to be really honest, he was the real creator of the card game. And I just kind of was next to him as he was going through the whole schematics. Um, and I think for him, what inspired him to make the schematics of zone was Yu-Gi-Oh, because he really loved Yu-Gi-Oh, and I think Duel Masters. I don't know if anyone remembers that card game.
Yeah.
If I can say, yeah, Bull Shock Dragon. um, but yeah, so I think a good inspiration would be from Yu-Gi-Oh, because that was really popular to us when we were kids.
Facts. I still have my deck. I wish I had it on me. I
Uh,
would have.
Uh, um, what are some challenges that you had while creating Zone along the way? Um, like what was one of your main struggles, especially?
and well, number one would be COVID. Like as a lot of businesses kind of happened at the time, because around 2 years ago is when we started going off. So 1 year prior to COVID is when we started to really try to dabble into it. So we started making the group of battle core, trying to navigate through that and trying to make finding the resources to make zone where it is now in terms of development. So we had to do a lot of research on copyright. We had to do a lot of research on our competitors such as Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Battle Spirits, Duel Masters, and we had to really research like, well, what is the current market for the US? What is the current market globally, such as that? Uh, what would we use as, I guess, a catalyst to produce our cards? Who would be our artists? You know, how the game functions, and a lot of testing. Is it appealing? What is our target audience? It was a lot to really consider. But I think the most challenging thing of it all, well, I think two would be really challenging. Finding out what's appealing to the current audience today, in terms of what they want in a card game, and definitely funding and allocating funds. We have the funds, and then what's the best place to put them to make sure that we don't fall short against our competitors. Because at the end of the day, we have to realize we're just a small group going against things such as Bandai, Konami, Wizards of the Coast. They are established companies and they're our rivals. So unless we sell our product to them, at the end of the day, these are giants that we have to avoid getting stepped on.
Okay. So like, I would imagine creating your own card game or being a part of that creation is kind of like making a whole new world, right? So how has that creative process been like throughout your journey so far?
And hit it right on the nail, honestly. Uh, it is entertaining. It's like a love-hate relationship, like you have to understand that what really brings some card games to life is, as you said, the world that provides with them. That's why Magic the Gathering has been so successful since its time. That's why it's also at times referred to as the grandpappy of all card games, because the world it provides is so expansive and so easy to be immersed in. And for us, as we try to make Zone, we try to make sure that a lot of the cards you see has a role in the world of it. So, such as, if I were to name some cards to you, you won't know what they are until upon release. But such as a tenth, a tenth is a prince that became a draconic being out of a curse due to his father by being banished out of his kingdom. Such lore as that is important because sometimes not everyone comes in for the competitive aspect, but more of the immersion aspect. And it definitely is a struggle because there's only so much one mind can handle. So I definitely
Yeah.
had to make a team to be like, hey, you're in charge of this color and nation. You're in charge of this color and nation. How do they intertwine? What is their economy and sorts? We really get in depth into it, and we have to at times do research on like how real world things go. This way we could try like, oh, this wouldn't make sense in this kind of world because like what's the currency in the world? How do they go about today? Is there a supremacy? Is there kingdoms? Yada 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 yada. You know.
It's kind of like well, like Malik said before, you're making your own world, storyline, and based off of how many, I guess nations or elements you have to try and intertwine all of them at once. So
Mm-hmm.
I get what you're going at. Like it is like a love hate relationship because some things may not add up to other things.
Yep.
Yeah.
The last thing you want is like a whole Dragon Ball Z scenario where you get recons and things.
Yeah.
It don't make no type of sense.
So more of a personal question. What is your personal favorite card game?
My personal
Like,
favorite.
yeah.
Oh. Dang. I'm never good at picking number ones. You found my weakness.
or 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 another way to say it is which card game are you the best at? Which
The
one?
best at
Yeah.
it gotta be Yu-Gi-Oh! Hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down. I'm booty at Magic. I'm booty at Magic. I had my hand in Hearthstone. I'm booty at that too. Recently
Ah,
played Digimon.
Hearthstone.
Yeah, man, yeah, man. I'm booty, bro. Um, I think Digimon. I think I'm dabbling in that now, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Hands down has to be the best card game I'm in because I really took a part in the competitive scene, know a lot of how the economy works. Used to sometimes make my living off of selling cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Um, so I think hands down that had to be the best card game for me.
Speaking of that, you mentioned earlier about you doing regional. How was that experience?
Oh, I think I think that's just an experience that if you play competitively, you just can't beat. You interact with a lot of people. You play in a lot of matches. Sometimes, unfortunately, people don't know how to shower, so they have to deal with that.
Uh,
You
See,
know,
I thought that was just a stereotype. I didn't know it was.
no, bro. Funny enough, they recently had to make a rule that if you don't smell good, you can't come in.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm glad they did it, but it was, it's past my time.
Yeah.
But it's exciting because you come in there to compete against maybe like 100 plus other people who maybe need to practice, spend a lot of money on their decks and so on and so forth, just to compete for a place to maybe travel to another state and then maybe compete on a world platform if you want to go to Japan and stuff, and it's very exciting to meet a lot of new people, do a lot of trades, get some new connections, join, see some new groups, and see how everyone interacts in the card game. Sometimes you have your casuals, you have your hyper competitive people, you have your collectors. It's a very nice experience.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. I always wondered how that experience would be personally because when I was younger, I used to also play card games like Yu-Gi-Oh and video games like Pokemon or Call of Duty, and I was never hip to the fact that you could actually be professional, like be a professional gamer and go to things like regionals and stuff like that. So after a while, I started like staring away because I thought I was wasting time.
Mm.
So the thought of like just me personally, like yo, if I had kept building that skill and challenge myself to like play other people and go to these things, that whole thing just sounds cool. So I was wondering like different perspectives of
Ah, I
that.
see. Okay, okay. I think to follow up on that, and nowadays it's more accepting for people to be professional gamers, especially on esports. You see, like, people else like play Smash Bros, League of Legends, Call of Duty,
Yeah.
Overwatch. I think though it's still a struggle for people such as tabletop players that play card games to be considered professional, because I guess the RNG aspect of a card game. But people are still trying, such as Magic the Gathering. They have cash tournament prizes that might be like 10K tournaments, 5K tournaments. That's a recent thing that became Digimon too. During the pandemic, they have like 1K tournaments, 2K tournaments, 5K tournaments. People try to make a living off of that. So it is a struggle at the moment for still gamers to make a living off of it. But I think I have hope that it'll be an up and coming process.
It's funny that you actually say that because that actually goes into the next question. Um, Basically, like with technology growing the way it is, do you think that it's effective um in the longevity of card games and collectibles like that? Like, do you consider the growth of tech a challenge when trying to make a tabletop card game?
I question. Uh, I think it in a challenge in the sense to learn how to utilize it, you know, because recently I have dabbled in trying to make a product zone into a tabletop game online. And at first, a few years back, it was difficult for me because coding was out of my expertise in that area, gaming code, about coding games, to rephrase it, was out of my expertise. And I had to learn how to do it. But as time went on, technology got easier to deal with, and it's now a lot easier to code games such as things in Unity and Unreal Engine. But there's so many tutorials. They have like starter packs for people. Like anyone can come and just make a game and make an animate and a character and just go at it now. So, but to really learn how to utilize it and make a proficient game is, yeah, I think would be a difficult part, because you'd have to learn to make sure the inner workings are all right, make sure there's no glitches, make sure that you can articulate information to the player very easily, and so on and so forth. Uh, if I were to pick between releasing Zone as a video game versus a tabletop game, I'd have a difficult choice making, because while it is more convenient to release something on a video game, there is something about players and interacting with individuals, especially with people realized during the pandemic, having to play a person across the table. That interaction just can't be replaced by a video game. It can't be replaced by that. I think that would be a pretty tough choice for me.
Okay.
Um, I got a question actually.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
your opinion on a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult do you think it would be for a new player to adjust to the rules of zone?
Um, if if they had previous car game experience, we have seen in our studies that it only takes about a game or two for them to completely understand. So, you know, if they have prior experience. If they are a player that's never touched any form of TCG, well, short for trading card game, I feel like it would take maybe like 4 to 5 games for them to truly understand inner workings of zones. Because based on our research, it seems as though Zone is a card game that is very easy to enter, but I think hard to master. Very easy way to entry, but hard to like reach the ceiling. You know.
I can attest to this because I actually did test out Isaac's card game a couple months ago.
Ah, yes. Yep.
Like my first game, I had no idea what I was doing. He had to explain the rules a couple times, but by like the second or third game, I started to understand a little more. Granted that I lost. I mean, he is the owner of the game, but
Yeah.
it did get a little more like easier to understand after a while. So I can attest to that.
Alright,
Glad to
I'm
hear.
I'm coming. Once they drop, I'm coming for that top spot. I'm gonna study
Oh, for
up.
real?
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
got
challenge
you.
you that directly.
Ah, man. You call me Pegasus, bro. Don't take respect.
All right.
Shoot.
So basically, this goes back to the same technology question again.
Hmm.
Seeing that, I guess marketing strategy wise, how kids or people that usually would play these games are more younger now.
Yep.
And their attention span when it comes to like physical copies is hard. You know, everything is basically online for everything. How would you be able to like market um or like attract these type of audience to your
Mm.
card game?
So that's something we did struggle for a while with, I think in the first year, like who's our target audience? And
Hmm.
we've come to decide what we're leaning on is that our target audience is an older audience. So, um, you know, going from like maybe like teenagers to like young adults, because the world of Zone is an immersive one and has more real everyday content to it, like like maybe a little bit of racism, a bit of like capitalism inside there, a world you can attach to, because of how real it is. And and the way the artwork is, it's more targeted towards an audience. It's not as cartoonish or animated as such as Japanese card games such as Card Fight Vanguard or Yu-Gi-Oh. So it's really, I think it'd be easier to appeal to them. If we wanted to target the younger audience in terms of marketing strategy, I think we would probably convert over to the video game, because as you said, it's a lot of the younger kids nowadays tends to look at their phone, which is really convenient. So I know you see like some card games has migrated to mobile, such as maybe Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering, and I think Digimon tried it. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Um, Such as that. So I think if we wanted to attract or appeal to, little kids, such as my younger cousin who's like 7, I think I would definitely go mobile, because it's easy to flash things inside a kid's eyes, even though they have no idea what they're doing. You know, all the sparks seems really appealing to them.
Got you.
uh, so like how from the sound of it, I feel like Zone does have this potential, but I want to hear from you. How do you feel like, let's say looking down into the future, right? You see how Yu-Gi-Oh, the card game, and they have Yu-Gi-Oh, the show, or you could say the same thing with Pokemon or Digimon, where they have a story that kind of goes within the world of the game.
Mhm.
Do you feel as if Zone has that same potential?
Um, Man, that's a good question.
What?
I we
You be crazy to not set your potential high. You should always reach for the stars.
That's true. That's true. I feel like because he brought up a good one, because the examples he gave, they always had a story where the cards and the characters interacted. While for card games such as Magic the Gathering, there is no card games in the world of Magic. There are just people, and the card games that you play are representative of these people, right? So
Yeah.
indeed, so you don't like, if you play scene like Yu-Gi-Oh, you seen Yugi, he summons Dark Magician, you know, and you can also play Dark Magician. While for Magic, there's a character made like Kara, and in her world there are no card games. It's just war, and you play her in the card game. I think for Zone, we took the route of, because we're targeting an older audience, we took the route of the Magic, where there's this immersive world that you can read about and learn about and see animated, such as, for example, like League of Legends. It's another good example. Well, there's no League of Legends inside the world of League of Legends. There's just a bunch of characters interacting with each other.
Gotcha.
Um, we chose that instead because we felt like that would appeal more to an older audience. You know, if we ever had the funds to release an animation, we would probably then steer to what Yu-Gi-Oh does and build a character in a character world where they play card games, and this way children can relate to them, which is easier to advertise to these children.
Isn't that
That's a
kind of
good
like, it's another example of that is Hearthstone is based off of World of Warcraft, isn't it?
Mhm. And I think so. Though that I do not know.
Because I remember seeing something about that. Like, I've never played World of Warcraft. I played Hearthstone, but the
Mm,
characters within the card I think is based off of World of Warcraft, like the game,
mhm,
and like their characters and stuff like that.
mm. Yeah, I think that
But,
if the way you phrase it, yeah, that would fit the bill of the example. Yeah. Well,
yeah, so I think I know what you're getting at.
Right, okay. That was a good answer. Um, hmm. I feel well actually, out of curiosity,
mm.
do you have a card on you right now that you could give a sneak peek, or is that not
I can't reveal too much, you know.
nah okay, I
Can't reveal my
understand.
cards in my hand. Yeah.
Maybe after when we end the
Yeah.
cool.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I guess my question would actually be if you could give a little example of the lore that you're talking about.
Mhm.
Maybe for your favorite. 'Cause I see in your background you have different
Oh,
elements.
yep.
Yeah, if you go.
Yeah.
So if
Oh,
you
let's
could,
let's let's see the shirt too. Let's see the shirt too.
Oh yeah, you're right. Here you
there
go,
Yeah.
guys.
you go.
There we
So if
go.
you could just explain like a little something of, I guess, one of the nation's elements, or I don't know
Oh
what you
yes.
classify them as.
I can certainly do that. I can certainly do that. But before I do that, repping Battle Team Battle Core right here. See us on Facebook, YouTube,
Hey.
Twitter, and all sorts. We hold Digimon tournaments, just
Ah,
letting everyone know.
let's go.
But I think I'm currently representing the red one, which is Inferno Zone. Inferno Zone is somewhat of a desert wasteland, with very few oases where humans can populate themselves. Something similar or akin to the Middle East of the world. You know, where the climate is very hot. You know, there's very few places where humans can actually populate, and the places that are very hot are kind and cannot be populated humans are kind of surrounded by a lot of demons or dragons of the sorts. So you want to be wary when traveling through this zone. They are neighboring next to Terra Zone, who is also known for their luscious forests, their shamans, and so on and so forth. These two zones tend to not interact with one another because of the different cultures they have. One believes more akin to living a lifestyle in solitude, which is the Inferno Zone, because of the lack of territory around them and a lack of humans, while Terra Zone tends to interact and indulge in uh, interactions with Dawn Zone, their respective brothers, because Terra Zone has a lot of natural resources such as gold, forests, animals, and so on and so forth, while Dawn Zone is the nation most populated by humans, so they require a lot of things to sustain those humans. So I think though the
Ah,
interaction between those three I like the best. They have Dust Zone over here, kind of doing malicious things. We'll get to them later, you know. But yeah, I think I
I like that. I like that.
I I don't like that. That game sounds addicting. I feel like
Man,
I feel like people are gonna get sucked in with all the different possibilities of the world and stuff.
yeah,
That's kind of
that's
dangerous.
exactly. We want to grab you in, you know,
Yeah.
and it's just you buy our drugs and we give it to you, you know.
Oh. Nah, but based off of that little like snippet, like I definitely can see myself like interacting or like having a favorite, zone based off of, I guess the interaction that they have with other ones or like
Yeah.
their personality itself. It's cool that like each zone has like their own niche to them.
Hmm.
Um, I always gravitate toward it, regardless of
Yeah,
like anything. But
Frozen Tommy, baby.
yeah, there you go. But the other ones sound pretty cool. I like to learn more. Um, let's see. What can I ask you? Oh, so there we go. So you said that you are underneath Battle Core as you represented. Share it
Mm,
again one time for the one time.
one time.
There you
Here we
go. There
go.
you go.
Hey.
So my question would just be like, what's the process of finding these sponsorships on in basically collaborators? Like, how were you able to, you know, find the sponsorship and collab with them?
um, I think a lot of them were like, well, classified ones, the people that came here and there that wanted to indulge, people with a certain amounts of money that just happened to come my way. Some of them were some sponsors like some Fiverr, they help me from time to time if I meet some requirements. Um, but I will say it is difficult to find, I guess, funding from others who are willing to support you, and don't want to buy your product. That they will want to help you own your product instead of own your product. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Because a lot of the time, a lot of these bigger companies, usually when a creator such as me or Franklin, or such Antonio, comes to them, they's like, yeah, we're gonna own and control about 95%, and you just get five, you know? And this reminds me of a story of the creator of Buddy Fight. The creator of Buddy Fight had an unfortunate experience with his, I guess, quote unquote sponsor, where they basically told him and gave him a restraining order from his card game, and he couldn't be, I think, anywhere within 2 miles of a card shop that had that card game, and he couldn't be anywhere in the tournament. So it sometimes get pretty bad. But it's difficult to find individuals that will help you and not try to own you, I think. And the process of that is kind of word of mouth. You kind of have to find them on your own and have to reach out to your own, that people that be willing to help you, and kind of just develop a network with individuals like, hey, do you know anyone that's willing to indulge in this industry? Because I think I have something, a pretty good pitch to give to them, and so on and so forth.
Was it difficult for you in terms of like gaining knowledge on the business side of the card game and like copywriting and things like that?
Oh, yes. I think it was very difficult for me because it's not, a lot of them are kind of trade secrets, or things you learn in school. And you have to, and if you don't exactly major in it, 'cause I made engineering, I didn't have to learn anything about business, you know. So if you didn't major in it, you had to like kind of figure out yourself through, I guess, textbook stuff. Luckily, I came across another person that's also trying to develop his own car game, who had the experience and the knowledge and went to school for it, and he kind of mentored me as to what I should do or need to do to make sure that I don't run into any issues. So I had that blessing, fortunately.
Cool, that's cool.
Oh, actually, I have a question. So as some of y'all may know or may not know, I'm a graphic designer, right? So, just for like you personally, like how or like what do you look for when or if you have help from someone designing your cards, like what? Because I understand like everybody has a different eye and everybody's perspective on art is very different. How are you able to create graphically something that can attract people's eyes, um, while also keeping your idea the way that you want it to be instead of altering it for people, if that makes sense?
I guess to help narrow the ideas, I can give you a more straight answer. Are you referring to the artwork of the card or the template of the card?
I would say the artwork,
The artwork.
meaning like what's final on the card.
Okay. So if I were to say the artwork, such as the character itself, when I typically, on a regular day for Isaac, he kind of wakes up, goes on the computer, kind of searches through Fiverr, and sees, because since Fiverr tends to help me, um, sees goes through a list of artists that they recommend to me. Now that I'm a VID, which I don't know what that means personally, but status. Um, so they give me a list and I look through them and I try to find something that's kind of a mix between a more anime kind of vibe and a Magic the Gathering kind of vibe. Because Magic the Gathering kind of does more of a realism kind of theme, where you can see a lot more of the hard details of a human structure or dragons, and it's not as kind to children. And I find that as my end spectrum of the end, and my beginning is the more anime kind of vibe, like Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon or Card by Vanguard, and I try to find something in the middle. This way, my artwork is kind of adaptable to my age group. This way, I can appeal to younger kids and say, "Oh, cool flaming dragon that doesn't look too vicious," and I can appeal to the older artists like, "Yo, this is kind of lit. I like this, but it's kind of like more adult themed." You know, this way I can try to get the best of both worlds.
Got you. Got you. Um, I don't think I have a follow up to that actually. Um, so yeah, you could go ahead, Malik, if you have anything.
I don't know. I feel a little lost too myself.
Well, actually,
Ah,
I guess a
mhm.
follow up because you did talk about the design of, I guess, the creature, but also like, what about
Oh, the
the
template.
border? Yeah, the border of the card, the fonts that you're using, the size of the font. Like, how does that also like play a role in all of
I
this?
Fortunately, I for that one I think that was a little harder because we had to go through several templates. I think eight different templates to get to where we are now, to try to find something that is aesthetically new, because we have to bring our best to the table to compete with Bandai and Konami in terms of this industry. And something that still kind of represents a more realism kind of vibe, you know. And I think for us, what we had to really look for is like, okay, can the information on the card be clearly articulated? Is it not too shiny? It's not too graphic? Is there too many, little designs or sparkly things? Is it too flashy? You know, we had to make sure to kind of dumb it down to sometimes, and sometimes we was too dumbed down. It looked like looking at dirt, so we had to like kind of sparkle it up. um, it's definitely more of a process, and I think what I've learned is that to kind of describe our current template, it's subtle. It's kind of more of a futuristic kind of vibe, more glassy. You guys will see it when you see it. You know, but but I think where we are now with it, I like it a lot because it clearly articulates everything so that even children understand. There's no confusion in gameplay, and all the information is on the card that needs to be given, and so you don't even have to read too much of a rule book to really kind of play. Because I know people hate reading the manual. They just like throwing cards on the board. And as for the yep, I know. And as for the font, I had your help a little bit for that, and I had my mentor Josh, also a member of Battle Core, to help mentor me in like what kind of font is really appealing to the eye. Because I'm an engineer, I'm not a graphic designer, so taking my hand at Photoshop was a whole new world, enjoyable world, but it becomes a little teedious at times. But you know how it be for artists. Um, but I think it's my answer to that question. I hopefully I answered it to the best of my ability, but that was more difficult.
Yeah, I definitely feel that because I know, like in Yu-Gi-Oh, like if I see a big paragraph at like the bottom, I just be like, I don't know what to do, so I'm gonna just summon it and see what it does after.
It'd be like that sometimes. Yeah, yes, it does.
I see like I know like the older Yu-Gi-Oh cards used to have like one or two sentences. The ones I've been seeing now is like a whole
It's a
thesis
whole
statement.
essay. It's a whole essay.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh man, it's so
It used to
bad.
be simple back then. You should just be like a flip, return two cards.
Yeah.
Now it's like X, Y, Z. You need this amount of monsters on the field plus this amount of stars, but they can't be above. It's just a whole
yeah.
bunch. Or like
It
you
really.
can't destroy this monster unless you such and such and such and such.
Oh man, it really is. If I know you guys don't play like that anymore, but you should have seen the whole Ring Dragon and Ra fiasco. It was literally I could submit this as my essay for an engineering paper and probably get the same amount of word counts. It was
Oh
it
no,
was
I understand, bro. Anytime I used to play Zach in what is it? That's a game. Why Go Pro, Yu-Gi-Oh Pro.
yeah.
like he would always summon monsters that like I have to physically read over and over. It doesn't matter how many times I play him. If he still summons that monster, I'm like, yo, what does this do? Because I never learned my lesson. And then by the time I'm reading it, it's like my turn. So like the countdown is just going down as
Oh,
I'm
I
reading.
know.
I can't make it. Like, I have to make a rush move. So
Yeah.
right, time like it's
so
different.
so how do you personally balance being an engineer and being a game creator?
Um, during well, and during school when I had to do that, I think it was difficult because as Professor before, we started a year before COVID. So when literally halfway through our journey, uh we got hit by the terrible vid, and it attacked our nation. you know. But it was, I think I would say it was pretty difficult because at one hand I had engineering homework that night and a paper due, and I had to tell myself, oh, I gotta make also type up like 3 new cards and make a whole new template, and this way Fiverr doesn't get on top of me you know so
Yeah,
I think I think it was difficult. Luckily, Battle Core kind of rose up, and we have more of a team to help out. So they helped out with testing and development, and it wasn't just me and Frank Antonio anymore. So, but it's still quite a doozy. Luckily, thanks to I guess it's whether blessing or curse. Since I'm fresh out of college, still looking for a job, I have a little more time on my hands, so I was able to focus a little bit more on the aspects of zones and getting it move a little faster, making some bomb artwork for it. So it's really nice right now. Absolutely.
Cool.
how would you um how would you express the importance of teamwork when it comes to developing?
It's literally your lifeline. I think in any project as big as this, no one man can do it alone. Or no one person can do it alone because it is so hard. Like imagine if every card you saw in Yu-Gi-Oh was made by one person. You know,
Or not? Yeah.
yeah, like it's like maybe like 10,000 cards. I'm struggling just to get to 500 at the moment, just for beta testing. So teamwork is a very strong aspect that I think in any big project is needed.
Any big
Is
project.
any any. Oh man. So I would stress it, and communication as well. Stress it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Stress it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
No,
Right.
I know that big key, big key
Big
factor
key.
in any project that you do, like
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
anything. Um, just to kind of like wrap us up a little bit, because we are running low on time here. Just talk about like your future plans for Zone, um, like where you're at and what's the next step that you're moving on right now. Whether how small it is, like it could just be like the next step is just finding this right color for something. Like it could be as small. Just tell
Okay.
us the future plans or where you are right now. So
So at the moment right now, we're currently trying to gather all our artwork together so that we can release our first two starter decks. So because right now we are on the verge of finishing our templates and finalizing everything for all the type of cards we need. Right, and right now we're struggling with most is artwork because decent artwork, good artwork is very hard to come by at a small price. So it's a slow process. And right now we seem to have settled on what two themes we want to release first. I think we have settled on currently we've decided on red and white would go first on the starter decks on the shelves. And while I'm sorry, man, blue will come out soon. Blue will come out soon, bro. I'm telling you. But we decided because they're so simple to learn and teach people with. We decided that those would be two colors. And unfortunately, I personally wanted red and green, but I got avoided. So that's how life is. Um, and getting those artwork done, getting the rule book done to make sure that looks nice aesthetically, um, and finding the appropriate production company, I think is the next plans. This way, everything goes well. In between those plans, we've been thinking about whether or not we wanted to open a beta server because we're having one of my good friends is currently making a small beta version of Zone to put online so people can test it,
Hmm.
and we're just trying to decide whether or not uh, if we wanted to open a Discord to have people beta test it online and give some feedback back this way. We've any last minute changes we need to do, we can do them. But right now, I think those would be my my team's current plans.
Cool. Well, if you do open that beta server, Implausible Podcast also does gaming. So
Hey,
we would like a
Yeah,
ticket into that beta server and,
hey, Les.
test out the video game for you.
Understood, understood.
facts.
You got it, man. You got it.
Like, you have any more questions?
uh, I do have one
Yes,
question.
sir.
When can I get a
Get
shirt?
a shirt? Oh, I can order you
Yeah.
immediately. Her name, I'm Miles, a sponsor. I got this from my good friend Ellie. She's a part of this clothing line called Zool Now. She makes very good shirts. Like these are fabulous. Like they print it right into the shirt, so it's so wash resistant. Whenever you want it, call me and I can send it right over.
I bet.
Send it over, man.
Got you.
I might need that sponsor because Uproar is
Hey,
looking.
I'll get you that contact, man. I'll get you that contact. Ellie knows what to do. She's good. She's good stuff, man.
All right.
Shout out to
Yeah,
Ellie.
shout
Shout
out to
out
Ellie.
to Kelly. All right. Well, thank you, Isaac, for coming onto our podcast and
Thank you so much
talking
for having
about
me.
your fantastic game that I cannot wait to play. And
Same
cannot wait to read because it's not just playing the game; it's also reading about it.
Reading's fundamental.
I would love to see what's going to happen with my that water symbol there. I need to know.
Hey, Les, bro. You'll know. You'll know.
But as always, this is the Implausible Podcast. Subscribe, like the video, comment what you would like to
Comment.
see next.
Um,
Comment about zone. Maybe a
Hashtag
zone
zone
that you're
TCG.
interested in learning about. You can comment that in the section below.
Hey,
But thank you for watching the video. Peace.
good everybody.